All right, folks, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans. And like normal, welcome in, folks, to the WNBA 365 network here, 24/7, 365, comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Back with you fine folks this evening on a pretty early start, or our normal 9:30 Pacific time start time in the evening here for the Wednesday night edition of our program here, coming away from both Los Angeles and San Diego, California, alongside Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart. Cal McClure joining you folks here this evening. Shorty and KT, good to see you guys again like we did last night. Two games to get to, a pretty big event as well in New York, and one game on the Thursday schedule, guys, to really get to in half an hour tonight. Other than that, how's it going tonight? Good to see you.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good night or good evening, everyone. And all these games, pure blowouts, look like, teams had their 2K sliders, on 100, but great slate of games tonight.
Man, oh man, whoever put the difficulty of their game on beginner, my goodness gracious, folks, all I can say for this one. Of course, folks, like normal, Facebook and Twitter and our live chat box are wide open for you folks. Go ahead and feel free to hit us up over on our Facebook page over at facebook.com/WNBA365, or follow us up or hit us up over on Twitter at WNBA365, at Calimac3, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010. And use the hashtag WNBA365. Or if you are viewing us live tonight, folks, be sure to send in your questions, comments, or concerns by hitting up the live chat box in the right corner of your viewing screen. And with that, guys, two games that we're probably not going to forget for a long time, folks. By the way, that does actually lead me to tonight's Twitter poll question, folks. 379 combined points across both games were scored. Which game, though, of the two was the most exciting that you watched? Was it the Storm and Liberty or Sky and Mystics? Cast your vote on our network Twitter handle, and we'll announce the results of the poll question at the end of our program this evening. First game tonight, guys, the Storm and Liberty. Seattle wins the game, guys, 102-78 in a pretty, very, very captivating matchup from the world's most famous arena night in New York this evening. Final box score for the Storm: Jewel Lloyd, 25 points. Breanna Stewart, 23 points. Crystal Langhorne, 21. Sue Bird with 12. Alicia Clark with 7. Kalena Mosqueda-Lewis with 6. Noelle Quinn with 4. And Jenna O'Hay with 3. And the stunt double, Crystal Thomas, 1 point from the free throw line. Remove Takashi, no points. Abby Bishop, no points. And also Monica Wright, also no points. They all, Seattle did get all of their players into the game this evening. For the New York Liberty, Tina Charles, 22 points, not enough in the loss this evening. Sugar Rogers, 15 points. Rebecca Allen with 10. Carolyn Swords with 9. Brittany Boyd with 7. Amanda Zawi-B with 6. Shavante Zealous and Epiphany Prince with 4 each. Swin Cash in her designated quote-unquote retirement game from the Garden of the Night in her home building, 1 point from the free throw line. Shoni Schimmel, Kia Stokes, and Tanisha Wright, all DNPs. Coach's decision this evening. The game played from Madison Square Garden in New York. Total attendance tonight, 8,159. Time of the game, 1 hour and 45 minutes. The officials tonight were Maj Forsberg, but 2 Cisco Stevens and Aaron Smith. 3 techs in the game, all on New York. 1 lead change in 5 times. This game was tied, but Shorty, judging from his box score, I would like to pretty much beg to differ about the lead change and the tie and the times being tied, Shorty. This, of course, was one of 2 blowouts that, of course, the 3 goons in here, or 3 stooges, did not pick correctly for the 2 games tonight. Again, and we were pretty much, I'd say, blindsided again by the Seattle team, really putting a stomping on the Liberty tonight in the Garden again, 102-78. Really short in my mind, highlighted by a 30-point third quarter and how it was really back and forth, and you saw a lot of lead changing more so in the first quarter of how, whenever New York got ahead, the Storm always had an answer back. They had, it was more so that typical punch, counter-punch type game, in my opinion. Shorty, overall thoughts on the first of 2 really epic games in the WNBA on this great Wednesday night?
Oh, my goodness. This was definitely a really great game, only because, as you stated, the final score wasn't expected, especially from our panel. I mean, we all picked the Liberty just last night to win it all, and the Storm came back on their playoff push, trying to secure that A spot. They came out high, 54% shooting, from the field, and they had 22 assists, which is very big for them. And the one key stat that always have stuck out to me in this matchup is the Liberty are the number one rebounding team in the league, and for them in this game to get out rebounded 41-31, I mean, it just shows that the Storm meant business in this game, and they definitely came out strong. And sadly for the Liberty, they did have a slow start, even though it was pretty much even, until halftime. And then after that third quarter, I mean, a big 30-point game in that third quarter for the Storm, and they pretty much blew things out, from there. And there was no looking back. I mean, 102 points for Seattle this year. That's pretty big for them. And last but not least, I would like to give a shout out to other network host Reagan Patrick. Today was her birthday. So shout out to her.
Crystal, before we get to you, you are, of course, required by network policy and on-air law to, of course, say hi to our buddy Eric Nimchok, who wrote it saying hi, Crystal.
Hi, Eric Nimchok E.
And with that, Crystal, again, like I said, the three stooges in here, of course, you, me, and Shorty, of course, not picking Seattle or even the Mystics, and of course, both those teams walked away with pretty hefty victories. But again, by far, probably the best game we've seen Seattle play on the road this year. I know they played some pretty good games at home, but again, very even after the first quarter, and then at halftime, then they really, like Shorty said, they'll blew the doors off of the Liberty in the second half again, beating them by 10 in that third quarter, 30-20, then putting up 24 more in the fourth quarter. Crystal, I guess, what did you see differently from the Storm in the second half, maybe, as opposed to the first half of this matchup, and why?
Honestly, well, first I wanted to say Seattle, they played a good game. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to blow out New York, who is third in the league right now for playoff standings. But honestly, I think Seattle just came out a little bit faster. I think because of where they're standing, they want to prove to people that, yes, we can still make the playoffs, and yes, we still are a threat to these teams. I mean, they beat LA, they beat New York today. I think they beat someone else. I can't remember who exactly, but Seattle is a team that's letting people know you just can't run through us. I mean, we're going to fight to the end. They end up moving up ahead in playoff ranking. Now Phoenix is last. They're in 8th place now because of their 3-game losing skid. So Seattle's coming for it. I mean, I honestly thought it'd probably be Washington, but I mean, Seattle is telling people like, hey, we're this young, well, not too young, but we're in the playoffs for a reason, and they're proving it right now.
Couple comments, guys, in the chat box from the man in the box, Todd Mintz, joining us tonight. He writes in to say at this point, he says, the Storm were just great tonight. I have never seen Lloyd play better. She's going to be on future national teams flat out. Seattle had great ball movement and tremendous entertainment as well in this game. Also, same at Seattle played defense early on Charles and Swords. Hurt the Seattle weakness, interior defense outside of Breonna Stewart, but New York got out of strengths because Seattle was so fast with the ball. They got the Liberty out of half-court defense, moved them around, and they were exposed, much like when Los Angeles had beat the Storm earlier in the season. And also writes in to say, it is now official. LA finishes either first or second, with the Liberty falling to third place. That's now official with that loss tonight. The Liberty clinching that third spot in the playoff picture for the 2016 postseason. Now, Shorty, as you now go to New York tonight again, it looked good for Charles and Rogers early, but again, like Todd Jordan was saying again, the Storm really made good adjustments though on the defensive front. Of course, getting them out of their half-court schemes. But Shorty, some minor shooting, shooting in the foot by the Liberty, 3 techs in the game as well, including one that I thought was kind of a ticky-tack one, of course, where it was Charles going up after a basket that she had made. And again, inadvertently elbowed Ramu Takashi in the face. They ruled out a technical foul on a review, which I thought was kind of a pretty iffy call there, but they had 2 more tacked on after that this evening. So, Shorty, it looked like kind of like the wheels kind of fell off the bandwagon in the second half more so than the first half. Shorty, what went wrong in your mind, though, for the Liberty in this matchup, more so half 2 as opposed to the opening 20 minutes of basketball tonight from the Garden?
Well, of course, as I said, they did kind of get off to a slow start, but, they started picking up things, around the second quarter at least. And if I can recall, was just a mere 2 point game at halftime. But then that third quarter, the wheels just fell off completely for them. And on that play in regarding Tina Charles, I mean, yeah, sometimes the refs call, ticky tacky fouls on that, but from my understanding, any contact above the shoulder, it is an automatic flagrant. So when things like that happen, it's going to be called regardless. But you know, um, I don't really want to focus on what they don't have right now as a reason why, in some games they've been sliding. But of course, yeah, they're without, Kia Stokes and Tanisha Wright, who I feel like, are major pieces to, the Liberty system and, what they like to do. So missing those two is definitely, putting the more weight on Tina Charles, in the post. But other than that, regardless of those two pieces that are missing, they still have to, get it together, and just ultimately they couldn't, pull out in this game.
So again, Crystal, more so wheels kind of falling off of the Liberty in the second half. Again, got to a pretty good start, but again, did not click on all cylinders tonight in regards to pretty much everybody after Allen, Rogers, and Charles tonight. Again, it doesn't help with them not having Schimmel, Stokes being out, Wright being out. So that's probably two pretty small glancing blows right now for the Liberty, at least in this game. But again, Crystal, give us your overall final thoughts on the Liberty, at least in this ball game tonight, and what went wrong for them this evening in this loss.
Honestly, it kind of seemed as if the Liberty probably could have taken Seattle a little bit softer than what they thought. Tina Charles, stat-wise, had a good game, but I'm thinking we're starting to see the effects of burnout. We've talked about this before, about how, Tina Charles has broad shoulders. I mean, she puts the team on her back every night, and we talked about how this could possibly happen, for hopefully for their sake, because they want to make the playoffs. It doesn't happen, but we've seen this before. I mean, Tina Charles does so much for that team, and she kind of fizzles out a little bit, kind of near the playoffs. Then sometimes she'll spark back up. But I mean, I think altogether there's a bit of fatigue there, because it's winding down, games are winding down. I think there was a bit of Seattle's really not that good of a team, so we don't have to play them as hard as we want to. And I think it's probably just a lack of focus. I mean, I didn't think New York would get blown out by Seattle. I didn't think that it was possible. I mean, obviously it's possible, but if you would have asked me yesterday that they would lose as bad as they did, I would have laughed at you probably. And but give all the credit to Seattle. They came out there and played a perfect game, but this was just not one of one of New York's best games.
All right, guys, a quick question being asked by Todd in our chat box, and he actually told me about this question he was going to ask on the show earlier in the day. He says, must ask you guys, Tina Charles lately seems to be on a tear again after a few good but not great games. Shorty, Todd's question, is she now ahead of Nneka Ogwumike in the eyes of writers for league MVP? What is your thoughts on this and why?
That's an interesting one because I'm really not sure. I mean, in the first half, of course, she led the league in points and rebounds. So of course, she was their top choice. But since the second half, has began, she's really been off. So I'm not sure as to whether how they view her, in their eyes. But again, that when it comes to MVP, it's just going to be interesting because regardless of if Tina Charles falls off or not, there's still that one thing with Nneka, and that's the possibility of sharing votes with her teammate in Candace Parker. So that's definitely going to be the interesting aspect there. But as far as her view, in the eyes of the voting committee, I'm not sure whether she has fallen off, even though her numbers have dropped a little bit. But it'll definitely be interesting how the whole thing plays out in the end.
So again, Crystal, to reiterate Todd's question again, he is saying, first he states again with TC, lately seeming to be on a tear again after a few good but not great games. Is she now ahead of Nneka in the eyes of writers for league MVP? Yes or no, Crystal, and what is your reason for the answer?
I mean, like Shorty said, you can never. Hold on, let me fix myself. Like Shorty said, you can never really truly know. I don't think so. In all honesty, I just think what Nneka's been doing this season is just so impressive. I mean, shooting 72% from the field. I mean, that's impossible. I mean, she's so efficient. I mean, I know people are gonna have the argument, yeah, Tina Charles is this to her team, Tina Charles is that to him, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, Tina Charles is the reason why their team's in third place, but at the same time, if you look at what Nneka has done, I don't think LA would possibly be 24-6 without her this year. I mean, we saw what they did. We saw what Minnesota did to Chrissy Tauber yesterday, and Nneka stepped up a little bit in that game and was able to somewhat kind of get the game there. I mean, Chelsea Gray put the team on her back as well, but I mean, it's just so hard to tell. I mean, these two women have been dominant, but I don't know if it's enough to get her the ultimate vote to get MVP. But it's definitely going to be close. I mean, it's going to be a close vote no matter what.
You know, guys, to use a horse racing term that, you know, I very seldom use, of course, is this will be a photo finish about who probably has, you know, maybe a more productive, I guess, or maybe has, you know, big games left in the now. Again, it's been neck and neck. You know, it's been, you know, 1 week Charles dominating, 1 week Nneka has, you know, they pretty much have, you know, alternating going back and forth so far with this. And as we said, though, I think with the emphasis again, guys, on being, you know, the player with the most value to their franchise and to their team this season, you know, it's a two-way street in regards to, you know, if Charles isn't with the Liberty, you know, they're not in third place. If Ogumake is not playing as well as she is with LA, that the Sparks are nowhere close to 25-6 on the season. But guys, I think though that in spite of that, Ogumake has had, you know, this very great season again, and it's not a discount. But I think that in regards to, as I've said, though, and I think that Shorty's even said this too, that, you know, that the thing that may hurt her, though, again, is that with the fact that she will probably and is going to be sharing votes with Candace Parker for MVP, that might be the only small thing holding her back and winning the award. But I think, though, that it still, though, can go either way. But I think, though, still that Nneka with the stat categories and stats backing her with the field goal percentage and all the stats that she has accumulated this year, but she still has a very, you know, very small, lead over Charles in this point. But, you know, again, you know, it kind of goes either way. But I still, though, think that Ogumake has it, even if it does include sharing votes with Candace Parker for the MVP trophy. But again, folks, Storm over the Liberty, 102-78. The final score from the Garden this evening, guys. Last game for the night, the Sky and Mystics, and the Mystics steamrolled the Sky 118-81. A final score. The Mystics setting some pretty impressive records today. We'll get to that momentarily. But first, guys, the final box score for the Sky. Courtney Vandersloot, 17 points. Cappy Pondexter, 16. Imani Boyette with 12. Clarissa Dos Santos with 10, getting some playing time this evening off the bench. Allie Quigley, Jessica Breland, and Erica DeSouza, 6 points each. Alana Deladon, 4 points, but EDD did leave this game early with an undisclosed injury at this point. Tamara Young and Jamira Faulkner, 2 points each. Cheyenne Parker and Benijah Laney, both DNPs this evening for the Chicago Sky. The Washington Mystics, guys, tonight set the following franchise records tonight with the most points in the game in franchise history, 118 points, 56 points in the first half, and they made 16 three-pointers in the contest with 33 assists and also made 45 of their attempted field goals in this matchup tonight. Taylor Hill, 21 points in the game. Leilani Mitchell off the bench chips in 20. Emma Meesman, 17 points. Stephanie Dolson, 16. Kia Vaughn with 14. Clea Copper with 11. TRP with 8. Natasha Cloud with 6. And Allie Mullet with 5. Ivory Lotta and Latoya Saunders, all DNPs tonight for Mike Tebow and his Washington side. By the way, folks, looking at the final team box for the Mystics, they shot 45 of 74, 60.8% from the field. And again, we're 16 for 28 from beyond the arc, shooting 57.1%. And we're also 12 of 16 from the field, from the free throw line at 75% flat. The game played from the Verizon Center in our nation's capital. Time of the total attendance today, 5,373. Time of the game, 1 hour and 51 minutes. The officials today were Jeff Smith, Cheryl Flores, and Vladimir Voyard to lead in this matchup. The one tech in the game on Chicago, 2 lead changes, and 3 times the game was tied. And Shorty, I mean, my goodness gracious, talk about a barn burner to say the least. Again, again, folks, the Mystics again following franchise highs tonight. Again, most points in the game, 118 points. They had 56 points in the first half alone and made 16 threes in this matchup. assisted on 33 of their baskets, and again, made 45 field goals. Shorty, overall final thoughts on the Mystics wiping the floor clean in D.C. with the Sky tonight, with a pretty historic night for their franchise, with all these record-shattering moments for the team this evening.
Yes, oh my goodness. And then the other matchup that we failed at horribly. I mean, my goodness, the Mystics. Look at the field goal percentage. They shot 60% from the field, 57% from three. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. And I would say in every quarter besides the first quarter, they scored 30 points or more. Second quarter for the Mystics, they dropped 31 points. Third quarter, 32 points. And then the fourth and final quarter, 30 points. So my goodness, it was just a absolute tear, coming from the team, just overall. Oh my goodness. The game was just crazy. I can't even barely, describe it, because overall they put up 118 points. That has to be the most points this season, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, it's just crazy. But an overall good game for the Mystics, and what they really needed, because they're another team that's, on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. And they certainly need games like this to keep them in the conversation, keep them in the mix. And that's what they did tonight. My goodness, I'm still shocked. It's been hours since the game has been over. But again, great overall effort from the Mystics.
Crystal, I think I'm a bit more sort of stunned by the fact that the Sticks did this without Ivory Lotta in the game. Again, they throw up 118 on the board tonight against a pretty good Chicago team who, of course, had EDD go out with an injury that we still, though, folks, have no further yet sort of ruling on her injury as yet. But again, Washington, Crystal, came out swinging tonight, and they completely owned this game, putting up 30 or more in 3 of the fourth quarters in the game tonight. This evening from the phone booth tonight. But Crystal, overall thoughts on a game that, of course, the Three Stooges, of course, did not pick last night.
Man, that was like a game of 2K with friends. And like the thing I talked a lot of trash with, that'd be Shorty. So that's like me playing 2K with Shorty, and I am the Mystics beating her 118 to 70.
No.
And, I mean, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, if you would have told me that the Mystics would have beat Chicago that bad, I mean, it's kind of weird. The games today have been weird. I mean, you don't expect top teams. Well, Chicago's like in the middle, but you don't expect teams to lose the teams that are still so-so. And like you guys were saying, hopefully EDD's not injured too long. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I heard it was a thumb. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I just know it's like in the hand area. But hopefully for Chicago's sake, she's healthy and they get her back soon, because they're going to need her. And it was just kind of sad to see them lose like that. I mean, for a second, I had to refresh my my WNBA page because I thought something was wrong with it. And then I actually tuned into the game and I realized nothing was wrong with it. But I just think Chicago came out flat-footed today. I think the injury to EDD didn't help. They rely on EDD a lot, as you could tell from the game today. And Washington just came through. I mean, Dolson was on fire. She seemed like she missed anything at one point. Misamin was on fire. I mean, Taylor Hill had a game. Taylor Hill's actually playing really well this season. I mean, it was an all-around effort from Washington, and that's why they were able to beat Chicago as bad as they did.
Now, folks, we have some conflicting reports between both Todd Mintz and the Sky's Twitter account. Now, Todd is reporting that the Sky Twitter account did put out saying that it was a thumb for EDD, but right now, though, still, even as of 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, their last tweet that they put out before the game ended was tweet status of player injuries unknown at this moment. More details to come later. So right now, we will still wait to fully confirm that. But as of now, it is right now unconfirmed by both Todd Mintz and the Sky as a thumb. But still nothing set in stone as of yet with the injury in regards to Elena Deladon this evening for this one. And by the way, I believe Todd wanted me to do some research. So I did a little stat rat digging, guys. The Mystics' 118 points is still not in the top 3 for most points in a WNBA game. That honor belongs to the Phoenix Mercury, who put up 127 in a double overtime game at Minnesota in 2010, while the Lynx put up 124 that same game against the Mercury in in Minneapolis, and then the next
Right.
one following that would be the Mercury against the Shock in 2010 when they put up 123. So the Mystics right now would be fourth amongst the all-time leaders or the all-time record book for most points in the game. That honor, though, is still held by both the Merc and Lynx, again, with their 127, 124 double overtime thriller back on July 24th, 2010 for statistical knowledge and your stat of the day. With that, guys, of course, there was another big moment tonight from Madison Square Garden. Of course, guys, tonight was the unofficial retirement game and celebration of career for Swin Cash. Of course, guys, what Swin has meant to this league for 15 seasons across the now defunct Detroit Shock to Seattle, and now to the New York Liberty. Of course, some stops in Chicago and Atlanta. Shorty, very great night in the Garden. Forbes, of course, Sue Bird, her longtime teammate at UConn, of course, took the mic this evening along with both Tina Charles and Tanisha Wright, Coach Bill Lambier, Isaiah Thomas, who's also involved now with the Knicks and the Libs as well. Shorty, I mean that we've already seen Lauren Jackson have her number retired. We've had Becky Hammond's number retired. We've had, of course, we've had Tamika Catch on her Legacy Tour. Then the night, of course, Shorty, we have, of course, Swin Cash and her night this evening. Shorty, I guess your overall final thoughts about seeing Swin's night at the Garden this evening, in spite of that lopsided score. Overall thoughts about seeing so much pageantry tonight and a great show put on by the Liberty and the MSG ownership group as well at the Garden tonight.
I definitely think it was great, on behalf of the Liberty organization to at least give her, a proper, send off in this game, even though the final score didn't play in their favor. They still, decided to honor her, and it was a great thing because she definitely deserves it. I mean, when you talk about Swin Cash, I mean, she is a winner at every level. At the college level with UConn, WNBA 3 titles, and then also the Olympics. So I definitely think it was a great night to honor her, and she definitely deserved it. And hopefully, after her playing career, she can go off into broadcasting. She's doing a very great job there as well, and she definitely have a future there. So definitely props to Swin Cash.
Some comments real quick in regards to this. Tom Mintz says, Swin Cash, what a classy lady in every possible way. Tremendous act or tremendous on-air presence as well, just elegant in every way. And our good friend Christy Wilson, guys, also says Swin Cash equals class act as well. And Crystal, last night, watching the Sparks and Lynx game when I got home from announcing my soccer game yesterday, and seeing Holly roll last night, I sent a tweet out after the game saying that, she is going to forever will be the measuring stick of how, current and future sideline reporters will measure themselves by. That got a like by Holly. And at this point, guys, I think, though, too, that maybe I'd even say that Swin Cash may become, sort of the measuring stick, too, I think, as well, of, pure dedication to the sport, defending the league and defending the players, too, and defending the sport in general, too, on social media when, fans and naysayers come after it. And what she's meant, though, too, to, so many people in either Detroit, guys, the Pistons put out a pretty nice little tweet today for Swin and her retirement. Of course, the Storm, one of her former teams, was in the building tonight to play against the Liberty tonight. But I guess, Crystal, your overall final thoughts, I guess, about this, again, pretty big night for a very classy individual that, of course, has been, with this league for a very long time and for many more years to come when she does hang up the shoes in a couple of weeks and months.
I think Swintalo Marie Cash. Yes, I went there. Full government. I think broadcasting it's calling her. I think she's pretty good at it. I think we won't see the last of Swin Cash. I mean, she's also on that show We Need to Talk, which is still on CBS. She does a couple of games for ESPN basketball. You might even see her doing college games this year since her career will officially be over, and she'll probably be able to do a little bit more of that. But I think she has a tremendous broadcasting career in her way. I mean, she's already getting the things ready. She did some of the Olympic Games. She knows basketball. She's been around it. She knows her stuff. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think as an athlete, you hope to get into a broadcasting career when you're done, so you can still stay around the sport, and because you've been in there and you know it. So I mean, I wish her the best. I remember those Detroit Shock days. She almost used to give us heart attacks. Those LA Detroit games. always tough games, always fun to watch. But I mean, look at she's a champion. She's an Olympian. She's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, and I wish her all the best in her future endeavors.
Well, guys, if there is 2 players I would want to see inducted, I want to be there and hope to be there. Fingers crossed in 5 years or 4 years now in 2020 when my man Steve Nash goes in first ballot to the end of the Hall of Fame, and even when Cash was ever to get into, she'd be one of the other players I want to go see. Real quick, guys, to get to our final poll question results again, folks. We asked you, for your thoughts on which game you thought was the most exciting. Again, with the 2 pretty big scores. Guys, everyone that voted, even Steven, 50% for both ones. So it's a tie tonight for the poll question with in regards to excitement for both games, with both scores being with both games going into the 100 scoring territory for the games tonight. Guys, only one game on your WNBA schedule for Thursday night. It's a late night game on the East Coast. Dream and Sparks, the third and final time to hook up of the season from the Staples Center in downtown LA. The game can be seen on both League Pass and on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet and Time Warner Cable Deportes at 7:30 Pacific Time, 10:30 Eastern. Shorty, ATL, or LA, who you got and why?
Sparks are going to get back on track tomorrow night. LA.
One vote for Los Angeles. Crystal, who you got?
I'll be at the game, and I'm the good luck charm, so of course I have to go with LA. I agree, Shorty, they're going to bounce back this game.
I will also go with the Angels in this one, a.k.a. Los Angeles in this matchup as well. We're also, guys, one quick comment at this point from Thomas. He says, I wanted to chime in, too, about Holly Rowe last night. And we know that, guys, we had that very, very heartfelt and very heartwarming interview with her and Coach Cheryl Reeve last night. Todd says, saw Cheryl last night, being so gracious with Holly Rowe last night. And that's what he wanted to write in. Christy Wilson is going with Los Angeles. And Todd says, LA still has to try and win out in the event Minnesota loses next week in Chicago and Indiana, so we will pick LA as well. With that, Shorty, Crystal, real quick before we get here for the night, Shorty, how about your overall final thoughts on 2 very exciting and 2 pretty epic games, again, with both games going over 100 points in both matchups? Final thoughts from the night's games or what?
I think they were pretty, good high-scoring games, and teams that, are still looking to either secure a playoff spot or get in, definitely brought the intensity tonight. And, hopefully we'll see more games like this in the upcoming days.
So, again, Crystal, 2 games tonight. Of course, we all got them wrong today, so we'll hope and pray that they get tomorrow's game right. But, again, Crystal, 2 games going over the 100-point threshold. What is your overall final thoughts on 2 very exciting games tonight?
Don't judge a team by if anybody can get it. Anybody probably will get it because it's playoff time. And just now I realize we can't count these teams out. So, I mean, there should be a tough, I think there's 5 games for a couple of people, 4 games left. So it should be a tough last week of WNBA basketball, and I'm looking forward to it.
With that, folks, we will see you folks right back here. Same bad time, same bad channel. Late night tomorrow night, folks, with the LA Sparks playing in Atlanta at 7:30 local time. We'll have a late night program at either 10 or 10:30, depending on what time we can get on air tomorrow evening, though, folks. With that, though, for Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles, this is Cal McClurg signing off from Studio 171 in San Diego. Thank you, folks, of course, for stopping by and joining us here this evening. Until then, folks, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thanks for coming by and joining us. And good night. This has been the WNBA 365 Network. And, folks, we'll see you back here tomorrow following Atlanta and Los Angeles. Take care, folks, and good night. Bye-bye.